All right, welcome back to the Big Skinny with Lou Basenese and Josh Young of Bison Insights joining us on a day that probably goes down as one of the most volatile in the oil markets that I've ever seen. How about yourself, my friend? You've been in it a lot longer than me.
Yeah, this has to be the biggest two-way move I've ever seen in one day.
How do you, I mean, just take us through, because you're an industry insider, you were an operator, you were an investor in this space. Now you continue to be an investor advising funds, your personal portfolio, but then you have a newsletter. I mean, take us through your day today. What were your thoughts as you wake up, oil spiking above 110, and then, before we came on the show, I think it was at 84. So walk us through like your thoughts and what you make of it and how that changes your outlook for the rest of the week, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think it started over the weekend where um, the U.S. and Israel bombed some fuel depots in the Tehran area, and it sort of went all over social media and all over the news. And that, I guess, was sort of the culmination of a lot of news around oil supply disruptions over the past week. And so you had seen oil prices sort of leak higher over the week, but they had stayed relatively subdued. And I think that was maybe the catalyst for animal spirits to take over. You saw oil prices skyrocket in the evening market last night. And then actually by this morning, they were already starting to come off. And you
Yeah.
basically saw them bleed down all day today, which was it was sort of wild to watch.
Yeah. Do you think that was, though, an indication, the market price reaction of when there seemed to be a breakthrough in terms of flow of traffic through the Strait of Hormuz? You tweeted out basically the bar chart. I remember seeing it of here's the normal volume of traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, and then boom, here we are, like basically hit the bottom. Do you think this is an indication, the market reaction of just, hey, this isn't a supply problem per se, this is a war conflict problem, and as soon as this ends, the bottom's going to fall out on prices again and go back, into the 70s?
Yeah, I think that's the narrative. I think and there's been now some narrative talking about individual tankers that have made it through the strait. The problem
Right.
is that when you add them up, they get to those low levels that you see on that bar chart, not the high levels that you saw previously. So yeah, I think that's definitely the narrative. But you have, it looks like 6.5 million barrels a day shut in right now across
Yeah.
various Middle Eastern countries and fields, which will take months to ramp back up. And then you have Qatar's LNG export facility and some of their gas fields now shut off and shutting in, which will also take weeks, if not months, to ramp back up.
So even though the conflict could end in weeks, not months, as the administration is trying to project and market, really the disruptions here could be months for sure. I want someone like you. Look, you were early and contrarian, but dead right. I mean, I think we were going back to October of last year. You started making the point that gold moves first and oil is eventually going to follow, and here it happened. What's your market view for the rest of the year in light of this just sudden spike and pullback? How do you think the market digests that? Do you think U.S. operators start raising rig counts, or are they just kind of locking in hedges on this move and just continuing their production at just maintenance level?
So first of all, I'm a oil and gas equities investor rather than a commodity investor. I might have made a lot more money on the commodity if I had owned options on oil and then just sold them.
Yeah.
But the weird part is that the equities basically haven't moved as a set. If you look at XLE or XOP, some of these big ETFs, they basically are at similar levels or even lower than where they were from the time that the U.S. and Israel started their war with Iran. So
Yeah.
there hasn't really been anything to sell into per se. I think there's been this sort of reactionary trigger to sell the news, but what sell what at what price? So
Yeah,
it's
they
a
didn't
very
move up.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
go
a very,
ahead. Sorry.
very no, it's okay. It's a very tough thing to even think about as an equity investor. So, yeah, are rigs going to come back? Sure, they should. What you need to see is the back end of the curve rise for producers to be able to lock in the price, at least for the first 6 months of production, in order to justify the capital spend on new wells. And the reality is that the back end of the curve started to rise, and then today it fell. And so I think what we're seeing is a concerted effort by the Trump administration to suppress the oil price and change the narrative. And the downside is that they've been doing this for the last year. This is sort of what I was talking about when I was highlighting the deviation between gold price and oil price and some of these other commodities, suppressing the price just leads to explosive moves like we just
It just makes
saw.
the crisis worse later on, right? I mean, they're really, stored buying of the commodity later on by pushing the price down in the short term.
Exactly. And you'd hope that the president would know this from his background in real estate, but it appears that he just has like an emotional negative association with oil. And to me, this is actually, this is where I think I have a variant view from the market. I see that as incredibly bullish because when I look at the government's ability to affect a global commodity price through narrative and through price setting and through hostile policy approaches, what I see is a history of failure with that and a history of much higher prices. Incidentally, the last time a president was this aggressive at suppressing prices, it was Nixon in the 1970s, and that was a spectacular time to be an oil and gas equity investor.
Yeah, I want to say too, you've been very prescient with your calls. I think you launched Bison Insights maybe 6-7 months ago. You've had 10 or 11 recommendations, all doing well, including one that was up over 1,000% in the last month or so, the Battalion. So tell me how you look at, and for everyone watching and listening, the live or the replay, I encourage you to check out Josh's work. I'm a paid subscriber. It is worth its weight in gold, and you're now discounting it even more to make sure more people get access to it. But tell me where you see opportunity right now. Are you looking at more in the distressed end of the market? Are you looking, U.S. domestic? Are you looking in Canada, international? How do you view the set of opportunities when you survey the landscape of oil and gas investments?
Yeah, so I don't want to take credit for stuff that I didn't get right. So I didn't own Battalion. What I used, the most recent idea, I used Battalion, which was up a lot, and another company that also has a big following that's up a lot as analogies for the latest idea that I shared.
Got it.
So I've had a few that worked really well. In aggregate, these ideas have way outperformed relative to XOP, which I've been using as sort of a ETF benchmark, sort of, hey, if you could own XOP or you could own some of these specific ideas if you're bullish on oil and gas equities. So I look all over. I've shared ideas in the US, producers and service providers, Canadian service providers, Canadian producers, and then international producers and services companies. So sort of all over, just trying to find companies that are very low valuation that have some sort of identified catalyst that could allow the valuation to rebound substantially.
So very asymmetric setups, right? Because in a lower price commodity market and lower valuation, and with catalysts, I mean, the goal here is to take less risk, but have an asymmetric return potential. And how do people find out what's the website? I know we've got a QR code to bring up on the screen. I want to make sure people see that a few times so that they can take advantage of it. But what do you think about portfolio construction? I mean, at any given time, I think you have 10 positions, 11 positions now. Do you cap that out at 15? Is there a kind of upper bound and a lower bound? Do you run a concentrated portfolio? How do you think about portfolio management? Or you just said, hey, man, there's a rising tide that's coming. We're going to make sure we get all the right exposure as long as you find opportunities that are compelling.
This is a great question. So my day job is running an investment firm where I have a portfolio and I sort of force rank stuff and sell stuff that I don't like and buy more stuff. The Bison Insights is sort of a fun newsletter hobby that's turned into a little bit more as it's really taken off. Some of these ideas have done spectacularly well, not 1,000%, but a couple are pretty close. And so, I think what I'm going to do with it, it's less about force ranking. The nice part is what I found, none of these are actually recommendations. They're stock ideas with the analysis that I think it's not everything about the company. It's the things that I think matter most for my investment thesis, along with key risks.
Right.
And so what I think I'm going to do is just share when I'm selling or when I've sold ideas. And then once I'm fully out, I think I'll just stop. I'll crystallize the performance from that particular idea versus XOP, continue to show the performance, but no longer, just be very clear, hey, this was the idea and it's no longer something that I own. But that's less force ranking and more just sharing ideas that I think are compelling and why I thought they were compelling. And hopefully, honestly, I think it's very unlikely that the next 10 ideas that I share will do anywhere as well as the last 10. And again, I missed Battalion. I got a lot of other ones, and just it's been so spectacular that I just want to level set, like it's probably not going to do as well as it's done because just mathematically it's almost impossible.
Well, I think people can appreciate that viewpoint, because if you're out here banging the drum, like this is going to go much higher from here, all these names are going to, I think it would raise some skepticism. So it's good to hear the level-headedness and humility about it. How frequently are you finding new opportunities in this market? I mean, is it once every month or so? Again, I know that's a kind of a fluid situation, but in this dislocated market where you're talking about XLE really didn't move much on this conflict and war, are you seeing valuations stay depressed where you can find a new opportunity once a month or once every 2 months?
Yeah, so the concept is to share one stock idea a month. And I failed at that, launched 8 months ago, and I've shared now, I think it's 11 or 12 ideas. So I've been oversharing a little bit. My expectation is that over time, I'll probably share fewer new ideas and more updates just because the pace of idea sharing probably has been a little too frenetic. But yeah, it's been, what is it? Warren Buffett has all these great quotes about when he sees a opportunity rich environment, and I would say this environment's extremely opportunity rich, but I'm just trying to be really careful about only sharing ideas that I think are incredibly compelling. And I think being careful with that, there's even stocks where, or warrants or various other things where I'll go buy a little myself or in my fund, and I'm not sharing them
Right.
just because I feel like it's not ready for prime time per se. And so I'm just trying to be really careful with that to preserve the track record. And again, I won't do as well as I've done. It's impossible to, but hopefully I'll do really well, and hopefully people from here will be pretty happy with the ideas that I
Yeah,
share.
victim of your own success in under 12 months, my friend. Well done. Listen, I appreciate your perspectives in the newsletter. Appreciate you joining the show for the second time, sharing your perspectives. I hope we don't have many more days like we had today, but if we do, I'd love to have you back on to decipher it all for us. So appreciate it.
Thank you.